At 51, my new boss fired me, calling me just an errand person and telling me, "I find you annoying and dislike you." I stayed calm and said, "Hope you don't regret this." A week later, $73 million in accounts were closed. With effect from today, I am resigning your position with the branch manager's approval. I appreciate all of your hard work thus far. I had stepped away from the busy front desk operations to take on more subdued back-office duties as I approached retirement. Under the guise of reform, the new, youthful, and energetic branch managers started getting rid of anything and everyone that was thought to be superfluous or in a way, including jobs and people. I objected. "I don't understand why I'm being fired." "You're in the way," the branch manager said in a frustrated tone. "It irritates me to see you just sitting at your desk, doing simple things that anyone could do, and acting like you're all important." The management boldly proclaimed such ludicrous logic, so they were merely low-level jobs that anyone could complete at their own pace. I suppose there was nothing to be done about it if it was a formal order. I chose to dutifully comply with the manager's instruction. I got a lot of calls from the bank a week later. Robert is my name. As a bank employee, I frequently work in the background. I'm 51 years old now. I currently primarily manage minor administrative duties after taking a break from the hectic front desk operations. I also occasionally help loyal customers. I get nostalgic for my earlier years when I watched the youthful staff members working hard at the front desk. I work slowly on small projects, have no chance of getting promoted, and am simply waiting to retire. However, I've come to enjoy my current position. It is a relaxed style of work that is appropriate for a worker who is getting close to retirement. Actually, the majority of our branch's workers my age begin to progressively reduce their workload. Whether for familial considerations, early retirement fun, or other reasons, many people take early retirement to enjoy their later years. Taking care of grandchildren and spending time with family seemed like the ideal moment for a change in lifestyle. A branch manager just retired before reaching retirement age. He desired to care for his family in his native country. He will be replaced today by a new branch manager. "Hello, everyone. From today, I will be serving as the new branch manager. Mark is my name. I'm excited to collaborate with each of you." During the morning meeting, Mark, the new branch manager, enthusiastically welcomed the employees. Wearing a sharp suit and a watch that looked costly, he appeared to be around 10 years younger than me. Determination was blazing in his eyes. His serious manner gave me the impression that it would be difficult to follow him. "You're there. Could you immediately take me on a tour of the branch?" "Me? Yes, I will give you a tour." "Thank you. Everyone else, please start your usual tasks. Don't mind me. Just carry on as normal." Mark approached Susan, a young female employee, and started touring the branch. The rest of us, including myself, got on with our usual tasks. "Excuse me, what task are you working on?" Suddenly, a loud voice from above startled me. "Whoa! You scared me," I accidentally blurted out. Looking up, I saw Mark, arms crossed and looking somewhat disgruntled. Susan glanced over in a puzzled manner. "What's this?" Mark asked, looking at my work. I honestly replied, "I'm checking and entering application forms." Mark sighed heavily. "Honestly, I've never seen such a laid-back workplace before," he complained with a look of utter exasperation. "By laid-back, you mean exactly as it sounds. At the branch I worked at before, no employee would spend time on such tasks. I'm surprised to find employees specialized in back-office work here. Checking and entering documents may not be a big job, but it's necessary. In tasks involving large amounts of money, even small mistakes aren't tolerated. I think someone has to do it." I didn't know how it was at his previous branch, but was there really no one doing back-office work? I almost retorted that, but it felt too bothersome. So I just responded nonchalantly, "Is that so?" and forced a smile. Susan, who was anxiously watching, seemed pitiful. I thought if I let it slide, Mark would just leave. But for some reason, he stayed and seemed to be contemplating. Then with a decisive nod, as if having made up his mind, Mark started speaking to no one in particular. "Decided, starting tomorrow, this branch will undergo a reform." The next day, true to his word, Mark began implementing reforms at the branch. First, he replaced almost all the equipment in the office with new ones. I wonder where the budget for that came from. Then he increased the workload of the younger and mid-level employees, especially at the front desk. The clerical tasks that used to be sent to the back office were now less frequently assigned to me. Thanks to this, the paid employees who were already busy seemed even busier than before. Once I achieve the reform of this branch, its sales will increase even more. This will benefit all the employees, and I'll climb higher too. Mark was overheard saying this excitedly to the younger employees. In reality, since his arrival, the young employees' sales performance had improved slightly. Maybe it was the result of Mark's Spartan-style leadership. As for me, watching Mark and the young employees, I thought to myself, being young is incredible. It felt as if it didn't concern me. So I never imagined that this reform would turn against me one day. Mark called me to his office. I was surprised as he hadn't spoken to me since his first day. "Do you need something?" "Yeah. I'll keep it short since I'm busy," he said, thrusting a piece of paper at me. With the authority of a branch manager, he stated, "I'm terminating your employment effective today. Thank you for your hard work until now." "Yes," I responded, tilting my head reflexively in confusion. Mark's loud voice meant that other nearby employees could hear my sudden termination notice. The surroundings began to buzz with whispers. I thought I had misheard, but the document clearly stated it was a termination notice. "You'll be compensated for your services accordingly. We'll handle the difficult procedures, so please pack your belongings and leave." Mark spoke rapidly, then turned away to return to his work. I was utterly confused, so I confronted him. "Wait a minute. I don't understand why I'm being fired. Have I done something detrimental to this branch?" Despite my stern questioning, Mark didn't look at me and said, "We'll properly offer you a retirement package." "That's not what I'm talking about. I'm asking if I violated any employment rules or made any major mistakes. This is wrongful termination." Mark sighed wearily and finally turned to face me. "You're violating your duty of dedication to your job. Bank officers and employees must be aware of their public mission, conduct their duties with integrity, and strive for smooth processing. That's in the regulations. How am I violating that? Please be specific." "This is tiresome. You're not keeping up with the new equipment and systems, still using the old ones, causing delays in work. Don't you see?" Mark ranted impatiently. "Have I ever delayed any work deadlines? I don't think I've caused any delays in work. It's wasteful how young employees have to teach you to use the new equipment or wait for your verification on everything. It's hindering smooth operations." "That's an outrageous accusation," I said, anger seeping into my voice. Mark clicked his tongue and stepped closer, intimidatingly looking down at me. "Me? You're in the way." "You are," Mark said, almost spitting the words out. While other employees were bustling around, he continued, "You're just lounging at your desk doing menial work that anyone could do. Sitting back after finishing such trivial tasks, it's irritating to watch." Mark, not even trying to hide his malice anymore, was unreservedly harsh in his words despite speaking to someone older than himself. "I'm neither lounging nor sitting back arrogantly. So, basically, you want to fire me not because I'm a detriment to the branch, but simply because you're annoyed with me." I found myself responding calmly even in the face of Mark's irrational logic. "Think whatever you want. Layoffs for staff restructuring aren't uncommon. If you're gone, we can hire more competent younger employees at the right time." Mark responded with a snort. "Excuse me, but I think a dismissal without a rational reason counts as an abuse of managerial power. Besides, the back office work, which was Robert's responsibility, was a task assigned by the previous branch manager and was supposed to continue this fiscal year." Susan, who had been anxiously observing our argument, interjected timidly. Following her, other employees started murmuring in agreement, whispering, "That's right. It's an abuse of power." Then from this very moment, back office work is abolished. Mark shouted out loud, not caring who was watching. Thankfully, it was after business hours, and no customers were around. "I'm the branch manager now. The previous one might have tolerated it, but I don't need incompetence in my branch. If anyone else objects, you're fired too. There are plenty of replacements." The other employees quickly averted their eyes, but only Susan kept looking at Mark, albeit shrinking in fear. If this goes on, Susan will be his next target. Realizing this, I took a deep breath and with a calm smile said, "Understood. If the task is being abolished, I accept the dismissal." Everyone, including the surrounding employees and Mark, was momentarily stunned by my sudden acceptance of the order. "However," I added, "let me give you one piece of advice. Everything you've said in our entire conversation has been heard by other employees. Everything. So please make sure you have no regrets." "Regrets? What are you talking about?" "It's good that you understand. I'm really relieved that you're taking it so well." That was the end of our conversation. I packed my things that day and completed the minimal handover. It was extremely disappointing to leave the bank I had worked at for over 20 years in such a manner. But as I was leaving, the employees I had worked with for years expressed their sadness at my departure. Some even shed tears. Despite their pleas for me to reconsider, I replied, "I appreciate your sentiments," and went home. A week passed with no job to go to and no need to wake up early. My sleep schedule was irregular. One day, I woke up around 10 a.m. picking up my phone. I noticed dozens of missed call notifications, all from the bank I had been dismissed from a week ago. "What's this about?" I wondered. But before I could ponder further, the phone rang again. Reluctantly, I answered. Immediately, a familiar shouting voice came through. "What in the world is going on so loud? Is that you, manager? What's this all about?" What do you mean? What? What have you done? Tell me the truth. I have no idea what you're talking about. Start from the beginning. As I asked for an explanation, Mark began telling me what had happened over the past week. A few days after I left, major clients started canceling their accounts. The internal back-office operations were on the brink of collapse, barely functioning. Throughout his explanation, Mark sounded panicked. But honestly, I couldn't care less. That's why I warned you, I muttered, astounded. Back when I was a newbie at the bank's counter, lacking confidence in my abilities, I spared no effort to improve my communication and interpersonal skills. As a result, I could handle even the most difficult customers or explain complex issues without trouble. The customers I occasionally served in my 50s were all longtime clients who relied on me. They trusted me more than any other employee for my clear and concise explanations. Among them were many of Mark's so-called major clients. Wealthy people are cautious with their money. They don't entrust their assets to a bank with untrustworthy people. That's why I always prioritize trust with clients. In just 1 week, Mark managed to ruin the trust I built over 20 years. I was beyond anger or sadness. I was just dumbfounded. I don't know why all the major clients left at once, but what do you mean by back-office work on the brink of collapse? Isn't it easy and leisurely work that anyone can do? I retorted with a rare touch of sarcasm, mirroring the words Mark had previously used on me. I knew all too well that back-office work wasn't as easy as it was made out to be. I was determined to let him know. As I approached retirement, turning 50, I had moved away from front desk operations to handle nearly all the processing tasks that other employees couldn't manage. Each task, though simple on its own, amounted to a tremendous volume of work, taking as much time and effort as front desk duties. Spending all day with numbers and documents is more tiring than one might think, and many give up after a few days. Living alone with no particular hobbies, finding joy solely in work, and constantly learning new things, perhaps I was an exception. Regardless, I've always believed there's no such thing as an idle task in a bank. How pretentious! You must have bad-mouthed our branch to your clients out of spite. Absolutely not. As a professional, I would never say anything that could damage the branch's reputation for personal reasons. I merely sent thank you letters to the clients who had relied on me for years. I had been in the process of handing over my clients to lower employees like Susan. When clients visited the bank, I would sometimes appear to assure them, please trust them with your business after my retirement. When Mark ordered my dismissal, I wrote personalized farewell letters to each client explaining the reason for my departure. I was dismissed for a rational reason, wasn't I? For neglecting my duty of dedication to work? I simply informed the clients of this and apologized. What? So that's why the clients are all saying they need to reconsider their association with us. You should have interfered. The content of my apology for my own negligence doesn't violate any duty of confidentiality or reputation maintenance. Informing them of my retirement and my successors seems only natural. It may sound inappropriate, but I was really pleased that many clients were angered by the unfair treatment I had received. Perhaps they thought someone like me could never violate my duty of dedication to work. It felt like validation for my earnest efforts. Just come back immediately. You have to take responsibility for this mess. What are you talking about? You dismissed me a week ago. I'm no longer an employee there. Instead of wasting time on this pointless conversation, why don't you get back to your work? That dismissal notice was fake. You're still an employee here. Consider the past week as paid leave and return to work immediately. Mark, in his arrogance, was now confessing to document forgery. I was almost speechless at his shameless and hysterical behavior. You've been quite loud. Isn't it business hours? Aren't you alarming the customers? As a bank employee, shouldn't you refrain from such behavior? I tried to remain as calm as possible. After a moment of silence, Mark's voice softened. Please just come to the bank. I'm begging you. Later, I visited the bank as requested. In the manager's office, Mark was joined by senior bank executives. Mark looked haggard, a shadow of his former self. He was likely reprimanded by the higher-ups. First, I received apologies from all the senior executives present. Unanimously, they said, we want you to come back. I appreciate your trust, but I can't work under a manager who casually engages in wrongful dismissal and document forgery. Understood. So if the branch manager changes, would that resolve the issue? Just as I was about to agree, Mark rushed over to me and deeply apologized. Robert, please, I didn't realize you handled so many major clients. I apologize for my rude behavior. Please don't let me be fired. Despite his change in attitude, Mark's volume and intensity remained high. Manager, please, a bit quieter. Your voice can be heard from the client area. As the office door opened, Susan entered, accompanied by one of my longtime major clients, Wilson from Mulson Real Estate. Robert San always speaks highly of you. I apologize for the disturbance. He greeted me with a polite nod. He was my longest-serving client and also the father of the bank employee, Susan. I've heard about the situation from Susan. I'm sorry for what you've been through. This prompted me to rethink where I keep my assets. I'm here to handle some procedures with Susan. It seemed Wilson was here to close his accounts. It was regrettable to lose such a long-standing client, but it was understandable. However, I overheard that if the manager changes, you might return. If that's true, I'd be confident in entrusting my assets to you again. Whether Wilson's words influenced the decision isn't clear, but ultimately, Mark was promptly dismissed. He was confronted with a genuine dismissal notice, not a forged one. As far as I was concerned, his future was none of my business. With his banking experience, I thought he wouldn't struggle to find another job, but it turned out not to be so easy. Wilson, a prominent client, had accounts at various banks around the area. Under the guise of casual conversation, he spread the word about Mark's actions. Mark became blacklisted in the banking community, being rejected for employment everywhere he went. A client isn't bound by charity, Susan casually remarked, echoing her father's words, which I found a bit intimidating. I heard through the grapevine that Mark is now getting by with part-time jobs. I sent greeting cards to my clients explaining my return to the bank. Even those who had closed their accounts upon my dismissal quickly reopened them when they heard of my comeback. This experience taught me the importance of transitioning responsibilities to others. I'm now actively mentoring the younger employees. They are all eager to learn and take responsibility. It's incredibly fulfilling to still be needed and able to contribute at over 50. With a new goal of nurturing the next generation of bankers, I'm experiencing exciting days, youthful enthusiasm notwithstanding.